This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the show that I'm calling Creators Corner. And what is Creators Corner? Creators Corner is a show that's not about me, has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with my channel. It's about my special featured guests and the guests that I have prepared each time I do the show. And today we have a really special guest, which we're going to get to in just a few moments. She has been very well known in the gaming community for her gaming, her game room, her YouTube videos, and just being an all-around great person. I've met her on numerous occasions, and it's been a great time with her. And so I do want to let you know, if there is a person that you want me to interview in the community for Creators Corner, let me know. Leave a comment below. And I do want to tell you that we're doing this kind of documentary style. So we will be maybe conversing in the chat room. I will bring up your questions, but we're going to do a special Q&A at the end of the show. So that way we can kind of focus on the content at hand and really bring you kind of the best possible show that we can. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the one and the only Brandi Ahmer, Gamer Ahmer. How you doing, Brandi?
Good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I know you have been asked when you and I were talking about this. Oh man, it's got to be 6-8 months ago, right?
Yes.
I was telling you I wanted to do a show like this where we bring in different creators and people get to know the creator and get to know where they started, and they've seen your game room, and we're going to get into that later, how extensive it is. And you said people are going to be shocked when they hear the story. And I said, well, that's what I want to do. I want to do an interview type show because that's what I do the best. I'm a good interviewer, at least I think I am. And I want to bring the audience on the journey of Brandi Ahmer and walk through your life history with collecting and find out the ins and outs of what's going on and how you got started with doing this. So I'm excited for you to be here.
Yes. I'm happy to be here. I'm having a great time. I was excited when you asked me. And of course, when we talked about this a very, very, very long time ago, I was excited. I was like, yeah, let's go whenever.
Well, and then things have happened in my life. All right. I had another child, as you remember, at the Cleveland Gaming Expo. My wife was a bit round, right? So this year we'll have 3 kids coming with us instead of 2. So it'll be interesting. So for those that don't know, obviously they had to have been living under a rock or something. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started? Let's go way back. Let's empty game room. Did you start this when you were a kid? I mean, I know you talked about you had some of the stuff when you were a kid, but was the drive there when you were a kid, or is this something that just happened within the last few years?
So I would say that I was never like a collector as a kid. I played my cousin's Nintendo Entertainment System as my first console, but I could only play at their house. So every time that we went over, I would have to wait for one of them to lose a life, and then I would get my chance at the controller.
It's always how it is, right?
Exactly. And you always get that terrible second controller. But so we would leave on, the console, turn off the TV, go run around, play outside, swim in a pool, play basketball, just do kid things, ride a bike, skateboard, etc. And then we'd come back inside and we would try and continue on to try and beat Super Mario Brothers. And, that was just such a fun time. And I just loved it as a kid. And then fast forward to me telling my parents I wanted a system because I couldn't keep borrowing my cousin's original Game Boy anymore. They wanted that stuff, so I couldn't keep taking it. So I asked for Christmas or birthday or whenever, and I say, I want a gaming system, which happened to be a jungle green Nintendo 64 with the Donkey Kong, 64, like big box. So I got that for Christmas one year, and I was so excited. I got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. My cousins had an N64 as well that year, and we used to trade games, and I got involved in the whole gaming world. I wanted to play all the time. They got me a Game Boy Color, so I got that Atomic Purple. I got Pokemon, so I'm playing red, blue, yellow. I'm just loving life, playing all these games. Fast forward through the years, I get a PlayStation 2, brother gets a PlayStation, he gets an Xbox a year or two before me. I get really upset because I wanted one for Christmas and they get me like Barbies or something, and I didn't want that. So, fast forward through the years, enter high school. What does every high school student do? They want to make extra money for some reason, and they tend to get rid of a lot of their stuff. So I sold tons of systems and games, except for my Jungle Green N64. and I just sold a bunch. And then next thing you know, it's college, and I got an Xbox 360, a PlayStation 3, a Wii, and I am the hit room in college. Everyone's coming to my room. They want to play games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? I love gaming. Like Rock Band, Guitar Hero. Like, we're just having a blast playing all kinds of like games online, Mass Effect, just having a great time playing games. And then, you graduate from college and you get a good job, you get extra money, and next thing you know, you just start spending paychecks on video games. And the collection starts to overtake a little apartment. And you start getting tons of cool stuff that you wanted as a kid, things that you had as a kid, then things that you just think are cool, and then next thing you know, you're like me and you end up having to get a house for
Yeah.
the games.
Or things
And
that
then
you
you
didn't
take
have.
over.
Well, things that you
Yeah.
didn't have growing up. Well, that's what I wanted to ask you before we get to the house part. I wanted to ask you because I think the misnomer, but when people watch your game room tours, if you guys haven't seen it, you're going to see some of it here in a little while. Is I sat there and I asked myself with many of your game tours was, I wonder what her parents thought at home. Like, did you have stuff tucked under your bed in the attic? But it sounds to me like that wasn't the case at all.
So, briefly before so there was like this garage apartment is what I essentially like stayed in. And my parents, I was like living at home in the whole upstairs, right before I got this apartment. And I started to collect a little. So I had like one area which was like my bedroom, and one was like a living area. Well, the living room like quickly started having games and stuff in it. And this was around 2015 or so.
Okay.
So I would say that like a big chunk of the collection really started at the end of 2015 or like in 2016 when I created an Instagram. So then I discovered this whole world of people who collect and who like to play the games. And I started seeing other people posting stuff, and I was like, I'll share some of my scores too. Like, let's just create a cool little community and have a blast with it.
Well, and I thought that was something because Brandi shared some of this stuff with me ahead of time back. I want to say back when we were at different conventions, and you were saying how people are going to be surprised to hear that I don't have 30 years into building this collection like most people think, right? Like, this is something that you've been doing in the last couple of years, because people, even my little game, which people in my area think I have like this enormous game room. I'm like, oh no, you haven't seen hers. Even me, like back in 2018. So I know it's possible, and I want to kind of get into that in a little bit of how you started to build that and how you got to doing that. But what was the thought process? Was it, because people talk about when you get a tattoo, it's like addicting, where you get one, you got to get another one, and you got to get another one. Is that kind of how you are with games? Like, when you get a game or a system, or you get well, right now, like collecting for a system, is that what you do? You just kind of, you got to keep going. You got to catch them all.
Yeah, I feel like I find that now. I can stop at any point, realistically, but there's no fun in that. So I'm just going to keep on going. And this room here that some people are commenting on, this is just my toy room. So this is mostly, vintage toys, some newer as well, a couple little video game things. And then this is where I have like my PC where I can stream. So a couple people have commented on that. So this is a whole different area than my game room.
Right.
So this is different.
Yeah,
yes.
They're going to see some clips here that I'm going to be cutting to here that we can kind of show as we're talking here of the game room, because you don't just collect games, you've got a pretty big toy collection as well for vintage and retro toys, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to give everybody we'll get into this a little deeper, and I'm sure some of you guys, you don't live under a rock, you've seen this video, but we want to kind of dive further and deeper, because some of these pieces that you have, I don't think people realize, Brandi, are hard to find and even hard to get, right? They're not just collectors.
Yes, not all of these. So you can't just go to the store and buy a lot of these items. Some of these I have stumbled upon. I have gotten lucky finding them secondhand, cabinets, standees, displays, like one of a kind items, prototypes. It is it is something that you can't go in any game store or GameStop and just buy. A lot of these you have to hunt for, and I think that's what I'm like known for is
Yeah.
finding deals because I try to like never pay anything at retail. I try to find as many good deals as I can.
Yeah, and that's something that I've found with your channel to be astounding because I'm to the point now where I'm starting to look for those promotional items, different things that are harder to get because
Mhm.
I don't know, it just feels like, especially, and we don't need to get down this road of physical versus digital, but the rumors of everything going that direction, I feel like these promotional items like you have are going to be the creme de la creme, so to speak, of game collecting.
Yes, I agree. Just because there's so few that have made it. I mean, a lot of the pieces are just cardboard. They got trashed at the end of
Hmm.
the day. Some of these signs and things, they just didn't make it. They weren't, built to last. So
Right.
you have to really care for these pieces and you have to give them a space where, they can be preserved. Like this is what it's about, preserving those moments, those memories, the nostalgia, going into a location, physically holding games where you couldn't research them on the internet. You couldn't, do all of this. You had to go into the store and make a judgment by looking at a box or talking to some of your friends or seeing them in a magazine or something. Just those moments are what I really hold on to because that kind of like shaped my childhood.
Hmm.
And even though I only didn't do gaming growing up, it was, always a fun time when
And I think that's what people always ask, like, we want to forget our past, right? A lot of it's like school. We don't want to relive our, school life or college life because there might have been good stuff, but there's also times that we learned hard lessons during those years, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think people really understand why we collect this stuff. Some people say it's a disease. Some people say that it's just you have indispensable amounts of cash. In fact, to the point where you were kind of attacked for that, right? This isn't just all sunshine and roses. Unfortunately, there is a dark side to this, right?
Absolutely. People I've, joked with you before, but people have asked to see receipts. They don't believe that I've spent a certain amount of money on certain items. They don't believe that I get lucky and find these. They think that I'm a millionaire. I won the lottery. I wish. They think that, I had inherited this collection from someone and you know, people just don't believe that you can work hard. You can have like a normal, like middle class job and
Mhm.
you can budget and find these amazing deals out there if you put a little bit of extra time into it. And if you just, be a part of the community, you go to certain conventions, you go to different game stores, you check different areas. Like this is all very possible. Even today in 2024, I still find deals. I have people, that reach out sometimes when they find these crazy things. And next thing you know, someone's delivering something to the house for a couple $100 as opposed to the 6 or 7 or $8,000 of what the items were. Like it's so insane to me.
So walk us through a little bit of this. Let's put these haters to bed, right? Like, so you already stated that you didn't just wake up one day with all this collection. You didn't inherit the collection.
Hmm.
I know because I've seen you at a convention. This woman is a hustler, and I don't mean in a bad way. She is working from the time she gets there till the time she leaves, whether it's creating content, trying to find scope the area out, and find deals, whatever the case may be. I can tell you firsthand. We were at Korg's last year, and she had bought the convention up before they even opened the door. It was probably about an hour before the door opened. She had three other people carrying things out to her car. Okay. This is the type of thing that you're capable of, and these are the deals that you just can't pass up, right?
Yeah, and like the items were only like $10, $20. So I bought a whole bunch of these items that were valued at hundreds of dollars. And the person knew they were selling for that. He had the eBay listings attached of what they could sell for, but he did not want to sell them for full market value. He wanted to offload his table, and I bought a standee, a promo banner. I ended up getting like some hanging displays, a jacket, a video game promo like jacket, different posters. Like I got so much from that one person, right as like the beginning of the convention was starting.
I have to agree with this. If I want to put the disclaimer out there, if you're watching this and you are in debt or going to be in debt, just shut the stream off right now, because Brandi will make you go into debt even further because of her collection. So I just want to put that disclaimer up there. I'm joking, of course. But you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have every Nintendo 64 console, both American and Japanese. Am I correct in saying that?
I have like a worldwide set, so I have a Korean version. Now there is one that I am missing, that maybe one day I'll be able to get, but I haven't really like counted that as a part of it just because it's so rare. But I do pretty much, other than that one, and two controllers. Other than those, I have, almost a full worldwide set. So Australian variants, PAL regions, Japanese, Korean, North America. So I do have a good chunk when it comes to the Nintendo 64 console and controllers, and I'm going for the full Japanese set of games, the exclusives, so that I can, essentially have that worldwide set.
And we're going to get to what you plan to do with all this stuff, or where are you going to put it all as you're collecting it. So walk us through this. One day you wake up, my name is Gamer Ahmer, and I'm going to decide to collect just about everything in video games, whether it be standees to collectibles to video game consoles to promotional items, whatever it may be. Where do you start? Do you get on eBay? Do you get on Mercari, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace? What did you do? Talk to us.
I think when it first started, I had went into like a flea market near me, and they had this whole room dedicated to video games, and they had Nintendo 64, like they had all the old ones, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. And I walked in there one day with like a bunch of friends, and I was like, wow, I should dig out my old Nintendo 64 and I should get a couple more games. Like, I wonder if I have the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game still. So, of course, I go and I grab this like big bin full of all this stuff. And then I just start buying certain things. And then I'm like, wow, I could really use a Nintendo Entertainment System and a Super Nintendo and a Genesis. So I just started buying a couple things local. And then I started posting my pickups on Instagram. And someone reached out and said, hey, you should create a YouTube channel. And I'm like, huh, I never thought of it. I didn't know there were people who did video games on YouTube. Like, I used YouTube for how-to videos. In high school and college, I was a mascot. I did sports. I learned how to break dance and roller skates. I unicycled. I juggled. I did face paint. I did like random things in my spare time. I was just like an all-around go-getter, tried to do different things to stay busy. So I didn't know that gaming existed. And this person was very close to like my hometown and said, let's meet up. I have a YouTube channel about Magic the Gathering. Maybe I can help you. So we sit down. I have been called Gamer Ahmer before because it rhymes. It's my last name. It like
it's not
meshes
Gamer
well
Ahmer.
together.
It's not Gamer Ahmer.
No, not how it looks. The H is silent. It's Gamer Ahmer. Always my life. So we sit down and he goes, I'll come over, film your first game room tour and another video, and then we'll see how it goes. And I'm like, okay. So this strange person comes over, films a whole game room. I'm nervous as anything. And then he films like another video. He edits them, posts the game room tour. It does great. People are wanting more and more. And I'm like, he hasn't replied back to me yet. Like, well, I'll get more videos soon. And then he says, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, you did great. I just didn't think it was going to take so much extra time with my channel. Good luck to you. I'm here if you need anything. And it was like a sink or swim moment. I was like, all right, I gotta do this
You got to
all
figure this
myself.
out.
So then
Yeah.
I just started filming, and people enjoyed it, and I met really awesome people, and I just kind of kept doing it because I love seeing like the journey and showing people the history and showing that there are still deals. And my YouTube channel started in 2018, and I would say that that's when I really picked up a lot more. Like we were talking about, where do you find this stuff? I started getting in Facebook groups at that point, different collectors. I checked Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay auctions, just anywhere and everywhere that I could. So I feel like that's when I really started, was when I started in YouTube.
Well, I'm glad you said that because people wanted to help you, because I kind of face a little adversity like you when I was telling people that a viewer of the show sent me that inbox little Samson uh NES cartridge when he knew that I was I don't know if the guy is really well off. I don't know. I got a stadium events as well. And people were just like, no way somebody gave that to you. And I think you would agree. There are people in this community that when they like you or they want to help you, they don't put a value on this stuff, right? They sincerely want to help you grow. Am I right in stating that?
Yes, I agree. I always feel weird if people, want to send certain things. I always tell people I'll just buy stuff, but I can definitely see how people want to like give deals, and they just want to help out because they get joy from seeing joy from you, who's going to appreciate it. There's always that talk of resellers, collectors, people just buying things in false pretense, saying, "Oh, I want this. This is my childhood. I'm going to collect all these games." And then they turn around and they sell it all. I feel like that's not me at all. I've never been like that. If someone were to give me anything, it stays forever.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people, they'll come over and they're like, "I really want this." And I'm like, "Well, it came into my collection, so now it's mine. It's stuck here forever because I love it." And I can't let it go. Like, so.
Well, so you have a couple hundred consoles. You've got over 8,000 games. And you're saying in like what, 6 years? Or is that being generous? Maybe 7 or 8 years you've been able to accumulate all that plus the promotional items and things like that. Is that safe to say?
Yes. I'd probably say like between 7 and 8, because there was like a couple times where I wasn't really collecting. When I was saving up for a house, I didn't buy anything for X amount of, I guess, half a year or so.
Yeah.
You have to save a little bit
Hey,
more. So there was like,
the banks would see you do something like that. They're like, "Yep, we're pulling the mortgage."
yeah, can't buy all the, standees and things. And there were a lot of things that popped up that I wanted, but I had to say no.
So let me ask you, close friends, family, now 8 years deep, we'll say, all this that you have in your house, have they kind of given you any pushback like, "Hey, Brandi, you're kind of wasting your money," or, "Brandi, like, why are you doing this? Do we need to have an intervention?"
Well, I know the first step. It's admitting that you have a problem, but I like it. I don't know what comes next. No, all jokes aside, a lot of people have said, "All right," because it started in the basement. So when I bought my house, I was like, I'm gonna pick somewhere that has a lot of like more house than like yard. It's gonna have like a lot of space for this stuff. So I figured a whole extra bedroom, which I'm in now, would have my computer set up, my streaming. It would have all my toys. That's completely packed. I don't think I could fit much more in here, to be honest. Then outside in the hallway, there's quite a few shelves, of VHS tapes and more toys and things like that. And then I have another little wall that has, my newer gen, so PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and then some PC stuff. And then the entire basement is a pretty good sized basement, and it has an extra bonus room. I think it was supposed to be a bedroom because there's a bathroom attached.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that entire room that's full of like my kiosks, full arcade machines, and I converted the Pac-Man bathroom. So like the bathroom has like a Pac-Man theme, so it all like fits. And there's a couple closets in that have, storage, tons of closets, packed. And then part of the laundry room now has video games in it. So, and the garage has a couple arcade machines, like full size, and a big Sega cabinet that's like 6 foot long. And, and my big Mario Kart that I got at the Southeast Game Exchange. So that 4 foot by 4 foot by 3.5 feet is in there too. So, yes, it's starting to be, wow, you have a lot of stuff. What are you gonna do with it? And I'm like, I can find a spot for it.
So I think for the next video, and I'm going to kind of speak for the audience here too, and I think they would enjoy it. And let us know in the chat room if that's something you would like to see. But I think Brandi needs to do a house tour, not just a game room tour, because I have a feeling, based on what you're explaining to us here, is that I don't think you have a room in your house that doesn't have some form of video game paraphernalia in it.
Well, there are a couple other bedrooms that have no video games in it. Just a little bit in the closet. The kitchen has nothing. The dining room has nothing. The living room has nothing. Another hallway has nothing. More bathrooms have nothing. I mean, there are like normal, parts of the house where there are no games.
For now, right? For now.
For now.
For now. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Trying to keep it that way, but I feel like the garage I will take over next and turn that into a like fully usable game room.
Who needs to park cars anywhere? Just park them on the side of the road.
Yeah, I have a driveway for that.
Yeah.
Cars should be outside.
Cars should be outside. Why not? No, I don't think I could do that. I don't like cleaning snow off my car. I like it when it's really windy. I don't like debris blowing into it. So, but hey, you never know. Anything's possible with this hobby. So you had the naysayers, you had the family, you didn't know, what to do, how to take it. Now you're taking over additional rooms in the house. Maybe we do need to have this as an intervention. Maybe this needs to be an intervention, right?
All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. No, I'm kidding.
But all seriousness, though, you started doing this. You saw it on Instagram. You started, you putting your stuff out there. You did, you had a room tour, right? Then your channel started to grow and grow to where I think you're at 14,000 subscribers right now, correct? Oh, I think you muted there. Let's see here. Nope. You were there a little bit ago, and then it just you kind of vanished.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go. We got you back.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's all right.
It did a weird glitch thing. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, it's all right. So you YouTube channel.
Yes.
It blew
correct.
up. It blew up because of the content that you put. You're a workhorse. There's like posts a day, shorts. I just can't. I can't keep up with it. I listen. If you're out there and you're doing content and you want somebody to kind of mimic and you want to kind of grow and you want to learn how to do it, watch her. Honest to God, like she's been encouraging me along with other creators to just keep going, just keep pushing. You got to keep grinding. There's proof in the pudding with what you do. Was that also a motivator in all this? Was that seeing your channel grow leaps and bounds as you were collecting and doing pickup videos and things? Is that something that also motivates a little bit more than collecting and playing?
I would say at the very beginning, no. Because when I first started, for about the first 4 years or so, like I started in 2018. So for like the first 4 or so years, I had no idea what I was doing on YouTube. I could not crack the algorithm. I could not figure out what to post. I could not figure out the tags. I didn't have like the best resources to film and edit. I was still learning. I do everything myself. So I just kind of was having fun with it, just showing some things that I find, showing some cool, fun things, talking about what I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year happened, 2023. And I started getting invited to different video game conventions. I started meeting more people. I started like learning some tips along the way. And I started, I downloaded some other things and I started using those apps to create thumbnails and different things like that. And I was having fun with it. And I was like, wow, shorts are really fun. And, people have shorter attention spans and I can show some really cool things in my collection. And I can go through and, take a little bit of time to like edit, but just have fun with it. And people really enjoyed it and they really liked it. And in that 1 year last year, I got 1.5 million views on my channel. I got like over 7 or 8,000 subscribers. And the previous 4 years or so, even more, those years, I barely even did a third or like a fraction of that.
Was there a
So I
specific video?
completely,
Was there a specific video that took off for you with that?
I think it was, like people enjoyed my Super Nintendo series
Okay.
and just some of like my pickups and like my game room and just different things like that. I think everything started meshing a little bit more
Okay.
together and people just really liked what I was doing. So it kept motivating me to, oh, you guys want to see this? All right, I'll do a video on that. And, this is, very pertinent in today's time. Let's do this. Or, oh, I just got this. So let me, show this. Or this was an insane deal. And, it was just fun. And then going to different places, meeting more cool people, having a blast, catching up, just exploring all parts of, the States, just having a really good time with it. And I feel like that definitely helped.
I don't think people realize the amount of time and effort it takes to have a successful channel, to do successful content here on YouTube or any other platform for that matter, because you have a full-time job. Most of us, we're adults. Yeah, we have adult money, but we also have adult responsibilities, right? And so
Correct.
we have family life, we have jobs, we have other responsibilities around the house. Now you're also adding something else into a very expensive hobby. And then throw into that buying equipment to do video, to do audio, and then make content that people want to watch and go out and try. There's a lot of work involved.
Yes. Because you don't want to just put out like mediocre stuff. And I mean, I know some of my content is not 100% perfect. We can always grow, we can always improve. But I think from the very beginning till now, there has been a lot of growth on what I can physically do. Like, I didn't know how to do thumbnails. I was just standing all the way back at the end of the room smiling. I didn't know how to crop my image out of it. I didn't know how to add color. I didn't know how to use different text and fonts. And then, just different like B-roll. I didn't know B-roll was real big. Like, you don't want to just walk around the whole room. Like, you want to show clips of things. You want to make it pop. And this year I'm trying to get a little bit better about, different things. Like, I want to do more like live huntings and things so that it's not always, crazy like that. I just, I want to get a little bit better. I want to improve and try different editing softwares and make things more enjoyable for people, just because I feel like I should put in the extra work and the time and stuff because, it makes it better for everyone.
And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this series. I spruced it up a bit. I wanted to make it look different, but I also wanted to have it in a way that people could really see the value in it, right? To find out, with yourselves and other creators that we're going to eventually get on here. But Retro Lizard put out a $4.99 super chat. I want to put this up here because he said, Brandi is the reason I started collecting kiosks. So
thanks for joining.
That's, I think the kiosk thing is got to be the toughest thing. Like, you have probably the most kiosks that I have ever seen from different collectors on YouTube. I don't want to say in the world because I don't even think you would say that because there's people everywhere, but just what's accessible.
Yeah, and there's some silent people.
There's some
there's
silent
over
people.
20 some that I have. It's like 23, 25, something along those lines. They're not all displayed, and I didn't show all of them in the game room tour because, like I said, some stuff is like in the garage, and some stuff I had to like move out of the way so that people didn't think I had a problem. You don't want to film the clutter. So,
Well, before we move on here, let's talk about something. You brought up something when you said the friend was going to help you with YouTube, and then he came over and you were a little nervous. Were you nervous at the fact that now you're putting yourself out there with all this collection, with all this stuff that maybe you're possibly going to have people that are like recognizing something and be like, "Oh, I'm going to go rob her," or were you just nervous to see how the community was going to respond to you? Like, talk us through this, because a lot of people don't get started being content creators because they're afraid of the hate. They're afraid of what people are going to think of them. And I don't think people realize successful people like yourself, you're a person too. You have human emotion and feelings, right? You're not just, some people might think that you're a super poster, but she's not Supergirl, right? You have feelings and emotions. Talk us through that a little bit.
So I guess anytime that you put yourself out there, you have like a slew of things that pop in your head. Anyone can get anyone's information and figure out where anyone is. That's, it's today's technology. So you kind of have to get that out of your head, but you have to be smart about things. You don't just go posting certain things and putting yourself out there. You have to take extra precautions, like tons of security cameras, sensors, motion sensors, glass break. You have to put that stuff out there, to be protected. And it helps people be at ease, but you're not going to leave, like anyone, you're not going to leave valuables right there in your car for everyone to see. You want to take those measures. So I don't think that was necessarily a bad thought that I had at the time. I think it was more so, this is something new. I don't know how to edit. I don't necessarily know. I haven't spoke to a camera. I could speak to people all day long. In real life, I'm like super excited when I pick up these things. Turn on a camera, talk to no one, just the camera. And sometimes it's like, where did all the emotion go? Like, you turn into a robot. You're like this teacher, educator, and you just get monotone. So I think it was me thinking I was going to have to try and open up a little bit more on camera, get used to it as time goes on. And I'm finally starting to do that. I know it's taken many years, but I think I've, gotten a lot better. And obviously I do better when I have people around me and pickups, in a store, hunting together, conventions. I think that those are always like a fun time because people can see your personality a little bit more. But when you're just talking to like a camera across the room, it's a little hard, to show that emotion. And when you pick up something and then by the time you film it, several days could have passed and that like hype could be lessened, or, you don't see it as much as when I'm in the store and I'm screaming and I'm like so excited and I'm like, just ecstatic about this. And it's like the greatest thing in the world. And then you get home and like a week and a half later you film it and you're like, yeah, this is a really cool thing that I got. And thank you guys for watching. It's like, it's different. So you have to, put yourself out there. And then of course you always wonder what people are going to think.
Yeah.
And the haters came and the haters are there. And people don't just hate how you are as a person. They nitpick every little thing. And I was always told that you're never supposed to say something that people cannot change about themselves in a short time frame. Like, you don't poke fun at that stuff. You don't make fun of someone's weight. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't make fun of someone's appearance. You don't call them all these names in the book. And you don't prejudge people because you never know what they're going through. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people do. For every so many great, comments, they say negative things and they say rude things. And, you have to brush it off. And what I do is I screenshot all of the negative ones since the very, very beginning. I have thousands of them screenshotted. and you just move on, and you just don't give them what they essentially want.
So, with that being said, I want to ask you, have you ever gotten to the point where, you said, that's it, enough is enough. I'm tired of putting myself through this. I'm tired of putting my home life through this. Enough is enough. Why am I even doing this? Like, this is for me to enjoy. I'm opening it up to the world by putting it out on YouTube and other social platforms. I don't deserve to be treated like this. I'm done. I'm calling it quits.
I've never said that. I know some people, they get what is that? They get burned out,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never been burned out. I absolutely love everything that I do. I feel like every day is another challenge. You know, you have to be glad to have made it this far in life. And I feel like everything is a teaching moment. Everything for me has been helpful because, like I said, for all the negative people who may want you to quit and all that stuff, you would just be giving them exactly what they want. And there's so many good people out there, and there's people that message me and they say, thank you so much. You have really brought me and my son together. We can connect over the video games. We watch your videos together. We discuss certain topics. It has brought our relationship closer. And then you have people who say, thank you so much for this. I knew nothing about this. I love your videos, or thank you so much. You unlocked a core memory. I remember this from back in the day. These were the best days of my life. This game really sparked this. Thank you so much for bringing it up. You have those great comments that you just keep in the back of your head, and you're like, you know what? This is fantastic. I'm going to keep doing this. I want to give back to the community more. I want to give things to people. I want everyone to come together. I want this to be a fun time. And I feel like that's what it should be. It shouldn't be about hate, divide, all of that. This is supposed to be like our escape from the real world, from adult problems, from all the mess out there. This is supposed to be a place where we can just have fun with it, and we can all come together. We're all the cool kids now. We're not the nerds anymore. We're just living our best lives. We're having fun, and it shouldn't matter what people say about us.
No, and that's absolutely true. And that's where I think that's where the inspiration for doing a show like this came from, was wanting you guys, the audience, to see not just the vulnerability, but to see the person behind it. Because when you watch a YouTube video, Brandi, you don't get to know the person. I mean, you kind of get to know their personality. At these conventions, I'm glad you brought that up. That was a great way to really get to know different creators. Like, I've met a bunch of different creators that I didn't even know inside this console space, that are truly caring people, great individuals, people that I love working with. I continue to enjoy working with. And you're right. That's what it should be. We should be an inspiration for people, and I know that is what you are, and that's the reason you're getting invited to different conventions. We've been to a few last year together, and I know this year the invites started rolling out. What was the turning point to getting invited to these conventions? Because that seems to be, I don't want to say people put the cart before the horse, but it's like you were growing exponentially. And now all of a sudden you're faced with, now people want you at a convention. They want you there as a guest. That's got to tickle the ego a little bit, right?
Well, it's such like a humbling experience. Like, never in my life did I think that, this stuff would happen, where like people would, want to be in a room with me. Like, I never thought of that, because I'm just like a normal person, and I'll talk to anyone. And if you guys know me, I'll talk your ear off. And I'll talk forever about games, and people will come up and they'll be like, sorry to bother you, and I'm like, no bother at all. Like, we're people, don't ever feel like, people will message me and be like, I saw you at this convention and I didn't want to come up and say hi because you looked busy. And I'm like, I'm never busy. Come up, say hi. Like, just join in. Like, it's it's so much more fun. Just so, I love it. And getting to meet all of these awesome people that put on these shows, and the amount of hard work and dedication and time and money and effort you have to put into planning these conventions. Like, I think that they're so great in a time where physical media is starting to dwindle away. You can go to a gaming convention and it's like all right there. So I think that that's such a fun time, and just starting to meet people. I was invited out to my first ever convention a couple years ago, like before I was even big, and that was the Southeast Game Exchange. And Austin is so fantastic. That is one of my favorite conventions to go to. It feels like a family. It doesn't matter if you're big, small, or in between. Everyone is so nice. We all pal around together. We just have like a great time catching up. We're all just like normal, regular people. And he invited me to come out and be on a panel with a couple other female content creators. So I got to be on that, and we talked about what it's like to promote positive, nature in the gaming space, how there are haters, but how we take it and we just rise on through it and we just have fun with it. And it was such a fun and powerful convention panel.
Mhm.
And I got to meet some of these big content creators, and we just all hit it off. And it's just really cool. And then getting invited the next year, and then a couple years ago, I was invited out to Syracuse, New York, at Retro Game Con by ABC News Nightline. So I was invited out by a news crew, and I was shocked because the news crew wanted to film me at the game convention. They wanted to come from New York to my house to film 9 hours worth of game room tour footage, and they just wanted to have a conversation about video game collecting in the boom. So, um, I was just shocked because, everyone at the convention, they had asked around who has, great collections, and the people who put it on, other game stores, other collectors, they all shouted me out, and they looked up each person that was shouted out, looked up their game room tours, and they picked me. So I had the honor of being on ABC News's show Nightline by Impact on Hulu, and I had this journalist, so Ashen, so he came out to my house, along with like a whole entire film crew, and he's talking about like retro revolution, as they call it. So video games, this whole retro scene, collecting nostalgia, collecting all of this stuff. And I felt like they did an amazing job because they made it sound like such a fun time. Um, they there they are coming out to the house, and we all just had a really good time. Like, they got to play games with me. We got to, talk about it. And he comes in, and he's like, "This looks like a normal, house here. Like, where's your games at?" And I'm like, "Sure, come on in, welcome to the house." And there it is, normal looking. And then all of a sudden, let's go in the game room. So,
At this point, though, what is going through your mind? Like, is this really
uh,
happening? Is that playing in your mind? Like, is this really happening?
yeah, I think I was like shocked more than anything. Because, like, it's so crazy when you get to see that. And they followed me around at that game convention too. And, you had to, like, wear a mic. And look, they're looking in my bathroom before I converted it. I had storage everywhere.
And
And then we're
you gotta
playing
tell
on
them,
the.
like, "Yo, I gotta go to the bathroom. You're not following me in."
Yeah, and then they showed pictures of me growing up around games, like at my uncle's house playing arcades that he had. We played Mario Kart together. Um, we played Crazy Taxi. So we were just having a really good time, and we were talking about collecting and how things have went up extremely expensive. And I showed a few pieces, and they wanted to kind of get in the life of like my career and who I am as a person, and how I'm like a normal everyday person, and you know just moving forward from there, how this whole like side takes over.
Yeah, I think that's the intriguing part for most people, right? As you're just a normal person like the rest of us, you're just
Hmm.
but people have related to your content, they've related to you as a person, uh they've related to your style, right, of
Mhm.
video game collecting. In fact, just recently, you completed the N64, or very close to the North American collection of the N64, right?
Yeah, I've had that for a little while, but I'm going
But now
for the
you're on this.
Japanese set
Now
now.
you're doing the
So I'm
Japanese and the Super
yes.
Nintendo. What are you, 200 out on the Super Nintendo?
I'm exactly 201 away.
201. I knew it was something like that. So, um, that's pretty
And
amazing.
GameCube.
And I was just gonna say,
I'm
and you're doing GameCube on top of that.
Yep. I think I have like 300 and some left for that. That one I still am new at. But obviously I'm buying other systems too. Like I'm buying Switch games when I want to play, or like trying to build like the backlog of things that I really want to sit down and play. I'm going to start upstreaming a little bit more again. So I'll probably be playing some of the PS4 games that I wanted to play. I do have a PS5. I'll probably hook that up here soon.
Mm-hmm.
That was on like the main TV, in the living room. Oh, the one gaming item that I had in the living room. But that's gonna come up here. The Xbox. So I'll try and start playing, some more of the newer games that I really want to dive into. And, I like to have a mix of retro, new,
Yeah.
just play whenever I can, try to play when I can in between it all.
Well, before we go any further, I'm going to take a quick break. I want to talk when we come back about where you're at right now and the future. So, guys, stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, guys, let me tell you a little bit about something to do with energy. We all could use a little bit of energy in our lives, especially when we're gaming out there, right? We could all use some form of energy supplement, something to keep our mind sharp and our energy and our focus on the games. And that's where one of my latest partners, and that is MAW Energy, MAW Energy. And I want to tell you a little bit about it here today. And they have a plethora of different flavors and choices amongst everything that they have here. At MAW Energy, the mission is to fuel the gaming community with the highest quality energy. And that's one thing I like about these guys. They have a highest quality of energy focus blend on the market, and their special formulated energy drink provides gamers with sustained energy bursts and focus without the jitters and crashes. I can tell you that for certainty. Commonly associated with all the other energy drinks that I've seen personally on the market, and they're passionate about the gaming community and understand the unique demands that it places on the mind, the body, and even the soul. That's why we've partnered with this company to bring you the MAW Energy. Now, you can click on the link in the description below and check it out using my personal link. I get access to everything here, and I get credit for it. And you guys can see right here, Blue Raspberry. Blue Raspberry is one of my favorites. In fact, you guys will be able to see right here. I have the Blue Raspberry here, and this is one of my favorites, actually. I have this one, and I have the Mythic Melon. I haven't given that a try yet, but this so far, one of the things that I like about this is the fact that it's not chalky. A lot of times with these energy drinks, you get a little bit of chalk in there, and what I mean by that is that chalk aftertaste, or it doesn't dissolve. I can honestly tell you from experience, this here dissolves. So give it a try. Click on the link below and in the description and give it a try. You won't be sorry. I know I'm not. All right, guys, we are back. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Gamer Ahmer here about her collection, how she got started, where she's at right now, and where she's going. And we've been kind of talking a little bit about getting to this point and the struggles that you had and even the things that you've overcome. And now we get to what you just released. Not, I want to say, last week? Was it last week? The end of last week that you put out your
I think so, yeah.
last week?
I think so.
So this is the Game Room Tour. Like most bands do a tour, right? Brandi's doing the tour, the Game Room Tour, right?
Game house, but I just called it a game room.
So what I'm going to do is, we'll kind of talk as we're showing you this. If you haven't seen it, we're not going to play the whole thing. But I do want to show you guys some pieces with this because I encourage you to go to her YouTube channel. Don't watch it secondhand on here. And also, if you want to see the whole video of what we showed when Nightline was doing that, you can go to Hulu. And it is season 1, episode 8, if I remember correctly.
It's the one with Taylor Swift. If you don't want to watch Taylor Swift, skip through. Exactly 20 minutes in is Retro Revolution, and you have to watch at least 5 minutes because it'll show me, and then it cuts away, and then it comes back. But if you want to watch the whole thing, you don't have to only watch me. You can watch the rest of the episode where they talk about the gaming convention, because we do go out to Retro Game Con, and then they interview some people there, and then they interview a game store, and they also talk to DK Oldies. So you do get to see a little bit about that, but I thought that it was like very well put together. And it didn't, most people when they interview gaming people like us, they always try to make us out to look like these insanely crazy people, but they made like us, like they put the good light on us, that we're great people, we're like these awesome people, we're everyday people, and we're the cool kids now. So I thought they did a great job.
Well, and I think there's something to this. I'm going to cut to your tour here, and we could talk while this is going on. I think there is a sense of crazy. I think to the average person that doesn't understand this, they're like, really, you're going to put a bunch of cardboard in your house? Like, I've heard it from, like, for instance, that Star Wars standee that I got from Cleveland, right? Yeah, my wife still looks at me. She still looks at me like, I put a piece of cardboard and drove an hour and a half with that in the back of my vehicle. And it's sitting in our hallway down here in our game room. And I'm like, yeah, but it looks awesome, doesn't it? She's like, well, yeah, it does. It does look awesome. But you've taken it to a whole nother level. And the stuff now, guys, I want to point out here, if you're watching this, and Brandi, you can expound on this. The stuff that you have is not just junk. It's not stuff that you're finding on the side of the road that somebody just doesn't want. This stuff looks immaculate. Like, you're finding top-notch kiosks, standees, like some of the stuff. Now, obviously, you can't help it if it's 40, 50 years old, but talk us through that. Like, how are you finding, is it just the luck of the draw, the right people, the right place, the right time? I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
I'll never tell. No, I'm kidding. I would have to say that you have to be patient. You can't just expect to go into a thrift store one time and find, stadium events or something crazy like that. You have to check out certain places. You have to be on Facebook Marketplace, make connections out there, tell people what you're looking for, try and find this stuff wherever you can. And ultimately, that's what I've done over the years. So all of these different, kiosks and different standees, I've found some of these pretty local to me. Game stores have given my name out, with my permission and my phone number when people come in trying to sell some of these big bulky items. And then some of my friends, they've wanted to do a trade or something. So I'll usually buy the item that they want and then do the trade that way, because I don't like to to do that. I don't like to trade, get rid of stuff. But sometimes GameStops will be throwing out things like that Switch kiosk. They were going to throw that out, and they told me I had an hour to get to their location because it was their last day that they were closing. Every other place had one, so they were getting ready to throw it out. So I showed up with a truck, or actually for the Switch kiosk, I had my own vehicle and I had to push the seat all the way forward. That was a little uncomfortable. But it was missing the TV. So then I reached out on a kiosk group on Facebook, and I was able to find the TV for it. And I had to pay a little bit, a couple $100 for the TV and the bracket. And then next thing you know, I put it all together, and for a couple $100 only, I got that kiosk complete. So, sometimes you get lucky like me and you find them by the dumpster when you're driving by at the right time, and you stop the car, you hold up a little bit of traffic. People look at you crazy. Some random guy comes up, loads it in your car for you, and you drive away with a PS4 kiosk. I mean, sometimes you just get lucky, and other times you have to put in a little bit of work and time, and
and you get it. Well, and I stopped the tour for a second because I want you to talk on this, but I also want to emphasize, guys, if you haven't seen it, Brandi has utilized every square centimeter. We're not going to say inch, square centimeter in her game room, in the house, from things that I've seen and even things that you see in the tour. You made sure to do, very good. That's something I need to work on. I think in my game room, I just kind of threw stuff up on the walls, but you actually purposefully put it. But what I want to show, and you can talk a little bit about, because I almost fell over when you were telling me this before the show here. This piece right here, this Mike Tyson piece, is sealed. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's not pictured, but it's for the game. So I have this big cardboard display. I didn't show it off yet, but it's in a cardboard, like a plain cardboard box, and the same like image of what they had back in the day for the Nintendo Entertainment System box. So like, see that punch out box right there?
Right.
There's a cardboard display of Mike Tyson himself from the 80s. So that game.
Okay.
And it's 5'9" out of the box. Well, I have a sealed box of it. So Nintendo would have shipped them out to different retailers. They were supposed to open them to display and promote Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So not the signed copy by Mike Tyson himself, but this big cardboard store display standee. That thing I have, and I got it. The person, I think, listed it for $70.
Oh my word.
And I did not know it was sealed, and I did not think it was real. But I had to drive 2 and some hours. I met this guy, and he said, look, I know this probably goes for more, but I have 2 of them. Me and my brother got them back in the day when we worked right here at Boscov's or wherever the place was. It's in the same shopping center.
Right.
And he said, we never opened the one, but we opened the other. He has the other opened one, and he still displays it every boxing match to this day. He's like, mine was tucked away in the attic. And he said, I'm selling it for $70. I tried to give him more. He said no. And I gave him 80 because I didn't have change. And I get home and I realize what I have. And I started asking around, and I figured it was probably worth like a few $100s. And then I saw that it was sealed, and someone offered me close to $10,000 for a cardboard box. So,
wow.
And I know they go for more because open ones in today's current time go for like $8,000. So
that's crazy.
Yes. So I just have that kind of tucked away. I'd love to have an open one, to display next to it, but I can't open it. I can't find myself to break that seal on it because of the insane amount of history behind it, and there's probably 0 others out there. And Mike Tyson has mentioned in several interviews that cardboard standee is one of his top 10 favorite items that he's ever, had made of him. And I don't even believe he has a sealed one. And I'm not sure if he still has an open one.
That would be cool if you could get him to sign it, even though it's sealed, to get him to sign it, on that.
Yeah, I thought about it and get it like a protective box or something for it.
Yeah, I mean that's not something you see every day. I mean, this is what we're talking about, though. You've gone through and you're finding deals, but do you think a lot of this has to do not just with finding deals, right? Obviously, you also have to have some knowledge behind you about what stuff is worth, what you're willing to pay for it, your top dollar, your bottom line, whatever. Not just saying like I have indispensable amounts of cash, because you don't.
No.
You got to be budget minded, but you also know a good deal when you find one, right?
Yes, correct.
So how long did it take you to learn and to look at things? I mean, there's other YouTubers out there that flip games. They collect, but they'll flip stuff and get other games. How long did it take you to learn, like, okay, this one at this grade, if you will, and when I mean grade, not graded game, but like quality is the most I'll pay is $80. Top grade, it'd probably be 120, and then you got to haggle with them. Like, is that something you just kind of learned as you went, or did you already have kind of a good idea of this?
I knew like nothing when I started at all. Um, I just, I guess over time you like start to see things sell, and I have like a pretty good memory, so I can pretty much go into a game store and in my mind I can have a general idea of which 8,000 or more games I physically own. And then sometimes I'll just check over a list just to double check. But majority of, this stuff I've learned as I went. And it is like an ever growing process. Like I'll never fully learn everything, but I have a good understanding of what to look for, what has value, what is going up in price. I try to follow like trends. I'm on social media a lot, checking the stuff out and like spare time. And I try to keep up with it. It's like a learning process.
Now, do you clean any of like a lot of your cases for your games, especially the Sega Saturn? Like I can't help but notice that in the Sega CD, they look like they're showroom clean, like the day that they were released. And do you buy replacement cases for all your games? Do you try to? I mean, are you? That's just how you found them when you purchased them.
A lot of them is pretty much how I found them. Now there are quite a few stickers that I have to probably peel off, a lot of cases. I thought about doing that one day. But how it works is in the basement I don't let any pets in.
Right.
So there isn't, it usually stays pretty clean, and every year before I do a game room tour, I do a very heavy clean. But it doesn't take long. I mean, you just move things off the shelf, quickly dust it, put it all back. It's very quick. Like it doesn't take long. It takes like maybe a couple hours to do like the entire game room before I film. And once I do that later in the year, when I have family and stuff come by for different holidays and stuff, I'll do like a light dusting or something. And then I'll turn everything on and everyone gets to enjoy the stuff. And you try and keep up on it. If you see a little bit of dust, just hit it with one of those like little Swiffer things and call it a
Right.
day. But most of the stuff, it just, I guess it comes in the condition. If I'm going to spend any money, I try to get the best for my money. I don't want to buy something that's ripped and beat up and cracked. If I can wait and buy it for, around the same price in pristine shape.
So now you brought up something that I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to game collecting. When you have a game room like Brandi has, is you don't just sit on the games, you actually play the games and you invite people over. And I think people find it fascinating. When I say, oh yeah, we have game night every Saturday night, people come over, we play games, we
Hmm.
play the arcades. How important is that to you that people get to enjoy and you get to educate a little bit, maybe a
Hmm.
younger generation of a particular system, a particular game? Is that as important as, preserving the nostalgia with this and collecting it, in your opinion, to you?
I think it should be like a balance. I'm guilty at times where I don't play as much as I'd like, and I'd like to play a lot more. I did a bunch of live streams like at the end of the year, or I started getting into them. So the goal is this year I want to start doing that a little bit more and like hold myself accountable of playing a little bit more, because it's always nice to revert back to why we fell in love with the games by playing them. And anytime that, people want to come over and play them, I'm all game.
Hmm.
I think that's very important to have like a mix, not just one versus the other. But I can see, at times, it takes a lot to, you go out, you hunt for items, you constantly find items, then you got to bring it home, you got to clean it up, you got to find a spot for it, you got to film it, you got to edit it, you got to post it. Next thing you know, you're buying more. I get you can get into like this like cycle, but it's more so like sharing about this stuff, educating, reviews, the nostalgia, bringing back those memories, keeping this stuff alive. And I think that's where, everyone has to have like a healthy balance. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think you should only get into it for one reason. I feel like the passion has to be there too. So I feel like you can't just get into this just to collect and like make money and, do things a certain way. Like I feel like you have to be passionate about whatever you're doing.
So along with that, being passionate, there might be somebody
Hmm.
sitting here watching this right now, and they said, "Man, I would love to build a collection like Brandi, but you know what? It's just too late." What would you say to
I
them?
don't think it's too late. No. It's never too late. It takes is that one really awesome bundle deal where you can, sell some of the items that you don't want. You can fund your own collection. People do it all the time. There's people making livings out of this stuff. I don't think it's too late to start. You could still find items. Maybe not around my area with me hunting, but you can.
Or
I'm kidding.
conventions. If she's at a convention, forget it. Before the doors open, all the good stuff is taken. You ain't getting it.
No, I'm not that person. I don't have money to be that person. I don't.
I'm teasing.
I know. I know. We always joke, nothing's for sale. Everyone go home.
You,
I
you
bought it all.
you guys don't like when we were in Cleveland and Brandi got there. Like we were talking to Tom, who runs the joint, and we were saying like, what he's like. Oh, you guys could come in an hour early, get set up, because we were broadcasting. And I said, hey, everybody except for Brandi, because if Brandi comes in, everything is going to be wiped out, and nobody's going to be able to buy anything. And he's like, oh well, yeah, of course, we're not gonna do that and have her come in. But yeah, I see millennial collectors in the chat room. He was one that you had carrying stuff out to your car at the one
Yeah.
convention, and that's been the running joke that if people didn't know, that Brandi buys everything. But listen, you find the deals. I can't take that away from you.
Yeah, I mean, there are deals and they're every day. Like, there's tons of things that sometimes I just don't feel like getting in the car and driving to, but, that deal has passed. There's, tons of like missed opportunities out there. And if you don't take them in life, then you'll never know what you're
You
missing
never
out
know.
on. So I feel like it's never too late to start. And you don't always have to build an insane collection. You can kind of pick and choose. Like,
Mhm.
if you don't want as much stuff, you can hone in on what you really do enjoy. So that could be your collection. Collections come in all different shapes and sizes, and game rooms are all different. And that's okay because, what people like watching in the game room tours is that passion behind it. It doesn't matter if it's, the most crazy collection if you have millions of dollars, but you're not passionate about it and you're only doing it, just to show it off or resell it. That doesn't have the same effect to someone who started from the bottom, who's worked to get this stuff, who loves this stuff, who's passionate about it, and, who wants to share it with the world, who doesn't want it to just, sit here, who wants to preserve it. It's different. And I think that's okay. Like, you don't have to have the most insane collection. You don't have to buy every single thing that you find. You can pick and choose what you like and what you enjoy. Some people like and enjoy a lot of things, like me, and some people, hone in on certain things, and that's totally okay.
Let's shift gears here a little bit and let's talk about, like, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Brandi Ahmer, Gamer Ahmer online. And if you missed the beginning part, you want to go back and watch it. We talked about how she got started, where she's at now. And now, Brandi, I want to transition to where you're going. And a lot of people were following along with your journey. We're following along with you collecting the pickups. We gave our opinions on where we think things are going from here on out. But where is Gamer Ahmer going? You're taking over the garage. When the garage is filled, what are you going to do? Buy a shed? Or are you going to build a shed out back? Or are you going to start adding on? Like, what's the plan here?
Um, so yeah, I'm heading towards no room.
I'll say that. Are you taking over more bedrooms? Are you going to be allowed to take over more bedrooms? Do you want to do that?
I don't think so. I think the future would be obviously like probably a larger place to be able to put my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea would be to have this in the future where people can enjoy it, where it wouldn't just be in, a bedroom or a basement. So that would be, some of the future. I guess that's what I'll say.
Okay.
it it would be great for it to be somewhere where people can enjoy this.
So you're not slowing down. You're not planning on slowing down. I mean, you're to the point where it's like full speed ahead. We're not stopping anytime soon. I guess that would be
Yep.
the question, right?
Can't stop, won't stop. I'm doing a series where I'm trying to get all the Super Nintendo games. I have 201 left. Trying to get the Japanese exclusive N64 games. I have like 40 left or something. GameCube games, I have a few hundred left. You know, as many systems as I want. More kiosks, more standees. I'm traveling the world. You know, I have that series, Gamer Ahmer Travels the World. So I'm going to different states first. And I've hit, I think, 9 states. And I've done like 11 or so videos on that. But I'm trying to hit every single state. And just to show you that you could still find deals and cool gaming items and displays. Not like going into Walmart and buying the newest game, but you know, I've found Mortal Kombat banners, I've found kiosks, I found the KB Toys cabinet, that amazing Nintendo 64 converted into N64 converted into GameCube, that cabinet. And I've found, you know, tons of banners, tons of standees, just Mario statue things. I've found all kinds of cool stuff, and that's in different states. So no matter where you live, you could still find the deals. And that's kind of what I'm showcasing, that there's still deals out there. There's still like these crazy cool items. You know, like in this room, I found a Mario fan, and this is from the 80s. So it's
Nice.
like the original Super Mario Brothers fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that in Virginia. So like different states, you could find different deals. They go for hundreds of dollars, and I think I found it for $50. Might have been 40. I can't remember. It was one of the two.
But you got to get out there. You got to get out there, and you got to hunt for this stuff. Go to conventions. Go out of state. Convinced of that. I want to remind everybody, if you're just joining us, please stick around. In a little bit, we're going to open it up for Q&A. If you have questions, I saw some float into the chat room. We want to get them to Brandi. Give her a chance to answer some dying questions that you've wanted to know about it. And we hope you're enjoying this series. And we're going to continue this series on to get to know the content creators with Creators Corner here. And Brandi, I think you summed it up here. Like you got your foot on the gas. One other thing I want to ask you before we open it up for questions and answers is you've been collecting or trying to collect complete collections of certain video game systems, but I'm getting the vibe, the feeling from you that your goal, you're going to try to get for every system. Like this isn't, you're not just going to say, these are my favorite, I'm stopping. You're going to go after like Master System, Game Boy. Like you're going to do your darndest to try to, am I right in insinuating that?
I mean, I know it sounds like the impossible dream, but I would love to, you know, just explore, because so many people, they talk about bad video games and they say these games stay away from. And I'm playing some of these or testing them out and seeing reviews, and I'm like, they actually are fun games. They're not the worst game out there. They may be like not structurally like the best, but they are so fun. And so many people are missing out on some of these games. Just because it's deemed a bad game does not mean it's not fun. So there's so many that, you know, maybe we all have our nostalgia blinders on when we're looking at some of these games. But people, along with my Super Nintendo series and other things, they're commenting and saying, wow, this game, it brought back so many memories. I had so many great years playing this. And, you know, me and my neighbor, me and my cousin, me and my siblings, you know, me and my parents, we had so much fun. And, you know, it's crazy because I would have never known about some of these games if I wasn't going for a full set. And there's still deals out there, you know, not paying full retail. People are still willing to cut breaks when you're at conventions and different stores. And, you know, it's, you could find the deals. And, you know, I'd love to explore other consoles that maybe I didn't have growing up. Maybe I didn't have more than a couple games growing up. And, you know, if I find the deals, I'd love to go for it all. But I mean, realistically, I know I probably can't afford all that, but no, I'm sure I'm going to try.
You're going to try. And that's the fun part. That's what I'm finding to that sentiment with collecting for the NES. I'm finding games that I didn't even know about as a kid, right? And NES was like the biggest console that everybody had. So for me, I agree with that sentiment. And it's nice to hear the passion behind that, because that's something that I felt like I lost the last couple of months, that passion, that drive for this. But to hear this, she's got me fired up. I don't know about you guys, but she's got me fired up. There is some questions coming in the chat room. Let's start with the first one. And guys, feel free to rapid fire them. If I miss it, feel free to post it in the chat room again. I'm not one of those, over-eager banners that like to ban people that repeat themselves. Just go ahead and put it in there. Sometimes it passes. Producing, hosting, it gets a little tough sometimes, and I miss questions. But Brandi, the question that first came up here is, what's the rarest item that Gamer Ahmer owns? That's a good question.
Yeah, because it's always hard. People say everything's rare, but then you look on eBay and there's like 100 of them. So just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's rare. But I would say on like a rarity sense, I'd have to say maybe my like Fox Data Nintendo 64 that like chrome dipped and the whole line of hydro dipped controllers like all together. I'd also say that Mike Tyson's Punch Out sealed standee because that might be the only one in the world. I have one of, I think it's like 3 prototypes for, it's Rocket Robot on Wheels for the N64, but it's called Sprocket, the prototype is. They just couldn't get the name, copyrighted for that. So they had to change the name, but I have the label art on there. So like the prototype of that.
Mm-hmm.
I have, like some other random like video game art prototype stuff where there's only one in existence. But it's for like a PC game, and it's Rex Nebular and the Cosmic Gender Bender. It's the weird PC game, but I have 2 prototype arts that someone actually gave me who worked at that company back in the day. I have, a game that was in their library at that specific, developer that's Microprose. So Microprose is like no longer around. So, some of these things I have in my collection, they may be extremely rare, they may be one of a kind, they may not be the most valuable because people may not want them or know about them, or they could be worth a ton of money. I mean,
yeah.
Even that KB Toys cabinet that I have, that one's a pretty cool one. The other cabinets, kiosks, I'd say like a good bit
so
of
the
stuff.
short answer, guys, is she has an encyclopedia of the highest value things in her game collection, right? Joe, we appreciate the question. Feel free if you want to have another question. Carl's got a question. He says, what's your favorite Master System game? That's a great question.
Carl. I'd say of what I've played, I really like the Alex Kidd series. So I feel like those are always fun ones to me. It's been a minute since I've played the Master System, sadly. I know he loves the Master System. That is one that I do want to explore a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I've played, Rampage on it, and I've played, some of like the other, like, common games and like the titles that everyone's always played. But I think that that's one that I'd love to, discover a little bit more.
The light gun games are pretty good. But that was a great question, Carl. Jason Little Alien, one of our moderators in the chat room, he says, question, do you find yourself going to more video game conventions or toy conventions nowadays, or is it a 50-50 split?
I think they're both great options. I definitely go to more video game conventions, but that's only because I think they fare well, like better with my schedule. And more of my friends go to those. There are, tons of toy conventions out there, and they do have video games at those as well. And sometimes you'll find better deals because people are more so there for the toys.
Mm-hmm.
But I like going to both, and I think that a lot of conventions are encompassing everything. So they're having, toys, comics, games, celebrities, YouTubers, panels, arcades, console playing areas, cosplay. Like they're doing a great job having everything. So I think whatever you choose is probably good. But I like a lot of the video game conventions because I get invited and then my friends go and then I get to catch up and I just always have a good time.
All right, Retro Rob's got one in the chat room. He says, okay, Brandi, there's a fire and you have to grab one item. What is it?
I know this will probably be an odd one. With all the rare, expensive things that I have, I do have a method. So I'll tell you this answer, and then I'll tell you what I'll really do. I would say my Jungle Green Nintendo 64 because it's my childhood console, and you cannot replace that. That is something, and it would have to be like I grabbed the games or whatever with it, and the controller and the box, the Donkey Kong 64 box. But that game with, like Fighting Force 64, Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario, I'd have to grab that because those are my childhood, memories and games and system, and that would be it. But if there really was a fire, what I would do is grab a big tote bin and I would fill it with as much stuff as I could, and I'd run outside and I'd throw the stuff out into the front yard, and I'd go back in and I'd fill up that bin and I'd run back out and throw it into the front yard.
She's got a
And then
plan.
I'd run back in and I'd fill it back up as much as I can carry, and I'd throw it back out in the yard, and I'd probably tell all the neighbors to come help. And then if I could physically lift, everything else, I would.
That's
So,
hilarious. Well, hey, at least you have a plan for this. Alfred puts a comment in here. He said actually the Angry Video Game Nerd has the Tyson stand up in his video. He says I seen it years ago, so it must be the open
yes, I
one.
believe. Yeah, he has an open one. So that's exactly what mine looks like, sealed in the original shipping box from Nintendo. So I have that, brown cardboard box where it says Mike Tyson's Punch Out Standy on it. So I have the original box that thing was shipped in before it was, like opened up and displayed.
So there's a fun question in here from Paul Barris. He says, "Does Cleveland really rock?"
Yeah, that was a great time. I had a lot of fun there. You were there. A lot of people were there. I found some good stuff there too, and
We worked their
there
butts off at that convention. Let's just call the spade a
yeah.
spade here, right?
And there's tons of like fun little game stores and things like on the path that I took. So I was able to stop at a few in the area too.
Another question that popped up here from Jason Little Alien. He says, "Do you use a particular app or method for cataloging your entire collection?" And I think I know the answer to this one, so I want to see if I'm right. Go ahead.
Yeah, everything's in my head.
I knew it.
I physically handwrite everything. I write all of the serial numbers down. I write every game. I have different papers and packets of different systems, and I highlight as I go. Um, I need to put them into an app, but when I started collecting, there were no apps, and then the apps that they started did not have the rare items that I had. So there was no point for me at that time to start cataloging if I couldn't put in, rare console variants and things like that. So I need to dedicate several weeks to that. So I think whenever I move to the next house or so, before everything gets placed on a shelf out of the box, it'll get cataloged. That's the goal.
I use an app. I'm probably one of the weird ones, but I actually use an app to do it. But I actually use Brandi's method when I'm going to NES. I actually have the whole NES collection printed out, and I take a highlighter. I stole her idea when I go to conventions, and I highlight. It's easy. It's old school, but it works, right? It just
Yeah,
works.
because then if you don't have connection and all this stuff, you
Yeah.
could just, do it. That is a good point, this question.
That's why I brought that up. I saw MG in the chat room. He says, if it's sealed in the shipping box, are you sure it's in there?
I feel like it is because the gentleman that sold it to me said, if you want, I can open it right now. And he pulled out his knife and he went to go slice the box open.
And
I was like,
no.
No, I'll do it. It's okay. So I feel like it's in there because I don't think that guy would have lied.
Let's go back to the earlier comment by Retro Rob, where he said about what would you grab as the first thing going out the house. He follows it up because you went through your list of games that you would grab. He said, wouldn't you just grab the fire hose or grab a hose to put the fire out? That
would be smart, but you also have to think water damage, fire damage, that would all, I guess it'd all be damaged still. It just depends on where the fire was.
Yep, and there's some guys in here that are recommending the Cleveland or the Ohio shows. There's a lot of them: Korgs, CCAG, CSG, and Torg. I didn't get to go to Torg last year because we had some illness going on. I couldn't get out there, but this year that is a plan. We've got another question from Joe in the chat room, and he says, "What are Gamer Ahmer's top 5 video games of all time?" Wow, he's really like putting the heat on.
Yeah. They do change because sometimes I have certain things on my mind. So I guess we'll go back to like my favorite childhood most memories of games. I would have to say Mortal Kombat 2 right there because I got that cool standee, so that's been in my head. And I love pretty much all of the Mortal Kombat games, but there was something special about Mortal Kombat 2 that I fell in love with going to the arcades, playing those games. I would also have to say Tony Hawk. I think I have the most nostalgic memories with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Although like Underground and, Pro Skater 3 and 4 are great too. But I have to say that one, the soundtrack alone, those memories, just playing games, falling in love with it. I would also have to probably say Super Mario Brothers 3 from like a nostalgic point as well. So many fantastic memories. Got me into like the love of gaming, just having a blast with it. Those are always like my go-to. Trying to think of other games. I'd say that I was recently thinking about this too. Stay tuned for an upcoming video. But Mass Effect was a really fun franchise for me, and I was telling someone the other day that I spent probably the most amount of time playing that online. So I have probably dedicated thousands of hours playing that game back in the day, like online. So I feel like that one is probably up there. And let's see. I know there's like so many games.
Well, you'll have to stay tuned for a video on that one then. I have a feeling
Probably Donkey Kong.
Oh, Donkey
Something Donkey Kong would probably be it.
Okay. I have a feeling Steve's setting you up for something here because he said tell Brandi to tell her story of her list on her phone.
So I went he came down this way and he came in the game room and we were all, having a good time playing games, talking about games, showing the game room, and we went out game hunting and I had a copy, like a video recording of a copy of my list on my phone. So in the video, I'm turning the physical paper pages and I'm going through the video on my phone. And he was like, "What is going on?" And I had like my list, but it's a video of me turning the pages on my paper list that's highlighted. And he got such a big kick out of that because it was like the craziest thing he had seen. And he's like, with all this technology and apps, you're using a paper list, but then you're, upscaling it a bit with the recording. So
Hey, you do what you got to
funny.
do, right? You get the point across.
Oh man.
Well, there is a few more questions here in the chat room. We've got Carl back, and he says, "What Grail would you love to have in your collection if you don't already have it?" Oh, he even says that. Apart from stadium events, haha.
I would have to say I'd probably love more kiosks. Like I'd love a Super Nintendo kiosk. I'd love a Sega Saturn kiosk. I'd love probably some more statues. So I'd love a Sonic the Hedgehog statue or like a Tails statue. I'd even love more cabinets, like the World of Nintendo cabinets. I feel like those would be something that I really, really want. So anything of that, because I thought the World of Nintendo fiber optic sign that I have, I thought that was like a holy grail that I'd never get. And then someone was selling it for $100. I gave them more. but they were only selling it for $100. And when I pulled up to their house, they had it on top of a burn barrel just sitting there because they rescued it from somewhere. And that's where they decided to put it at when I showed up.
Oh my
So
word. I'd be like,
so
no.
it's just it's just crazy, seeing all of these things that I never thought that I'd own. And then in one year I get, like the Sega Genesis store display cabinet with like the glass and the Sega and all that. And then someone messages me on a YouTube video and says, I'm selling one too, if you're near this area. And then I was 40 minutes away from them and I ended up buying that one too. So it's like, just when you don't think you're gonna find anything else, you find something.
Jason Little Alien says, question, what single game have you had the hardest time playing through to completion? It's a great question.
So as much as I have like a love and hate relationship with this game, it was always so hard as a kid, and that's Mike Tyson's Punch Out. So I know someone, questioned that as to being one of my top games. I think because it was so challenging as a kid. That was one that I loved it. It was really hard. I'm pretty sure that I've beaten it back in the day, but I don't think I've beaten it recently. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something I'll have to do. Oh, also, is it like Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins?
Oh, they're terribly
Those
hard.
games are so hard. I cannot beat those. I can't even get past the first level to save
Believe
my
it or
life.
not, I can beat it on my arcade 1-up, but I cannot beat it like on the Super Nintendo. Like I haven't really tried, but I can do it
Mhm.
on my arcade 1-up. I've done it at least one time.
Yeah,
Took a while.
I can't. I tried.
It's tough. It's very tough. So you touched a little bit on this earlier about dusting, but Joe comes back and he says, how does Gamer Ahmer keep her little museum dust free? How does she keep her collection clean?
So I think because I don't like allow like the pets and stuff downstairs or even in like this toy room. So I feel like because there isn't like a lot of pet hair and stuff, all over the collection. And when I do have like people come over, they always take their shoes off at the front door. I feel like that's a big proponent in
Yes.
helping. And I'm always, you vacuum and stuff and dust, but what I end up doing is every year before the game room tour, I do like a major dusting where I'll pull things off the shelf, just quickly, and I'll hit it with one of like the dusting things. And then just once at the beginning of the year, you do a really good cleaning, and for me, that's enough. And at the end of the year, right before people come over around the holidays, I like to just do a light cleaning then, like another vacuum and a slight dusting. And usually it's pretty good.
Now, there's a really serious question in the chat room from Paul Barris, and he says, does Brandi print money too?
I wish.
Listen, you got to go back. I mean, listen, that's a great response for you to tell the people asking for receipts, right? Say, hey, well, I just print money. That's how you do it, folks. That is how you do it. Okay, we got the secret out of her. Great on you, Paul. But but all seriousness, you have something that we all know that is probably the best that we've seen on YouTube. Very well done, very well laid out. I think it's, for me, it's always great to see somebody's imagination, even to I forget where it is, but you have some controllers dangling over this square piece on the floor. I don't know if it's one of those mats, and you have 3 of them, and they kind of come down like at a curve, and all 3 of the controls, like the attention to detail on how your layout is, man. In my room, this fits here, right there. That's where it goes. Like your attention to detail, it shows in here just with like the layouts, how you position things.
Well, I do appreciate that. It does take quite a bit of time to organize things. So right before the game room tour that I did this year, I do live outside of a flood zone. At least I think I do. I mean, it probably could, but I think I'm safe. But before the game room tour, I had tons of, things that I had to film still, piles of things that I needed to like hang up, different things like banners and posters that I needed to get frames for. So what I did was I took, I think like a week at least before the game room tour, before I even dusted and vacuumed. And I was like, let me go buy a bunch of picture frames. Let me get those command strips. Let me hang them up. Let me move what I can off the floor, get it on the shelves, and, just go through that. And it does. It takes a little bit of time because what I'll do is I'll just sit there and I'll look around the game room and then the wheels start turning in my head. And I go, you know what? This will fit better here. This will fit here. There's an empty spot here. Let me switch this around. Let me move these onto the shelf. Let me put these big statues here. It'll be more suited. And for some reason, it all just comes together and then it works. And people are like, how did you fit 20 collector's edition boxes that we all got for those GameStop deals? How did you fit them in a closet that was packed to the brim? How did you fit all this stuff on the shelves? Because you don't just keep them in the boxes. Like, I take them out of the boxes. I have to store the box in the closet, and then I have to put the statue on the shelf. So I was able to rework the entire closets, the entire rooms. I went through everything, didn't throw anything out, didn't get rid of anything. And somehow I fit it all in, and now there is plenty of room, to put some stuff. Like, I have more room to put stuff somehow.
That's crazy. I I don't understand. Maybe you need to come over here and redecorate my game room. I think that's something that maybe you should open a business doing that. We're gonna take this final question
I
here.
would love to.
We have from Joe. He says, "What are Gamer Ahmer top 5 video game characters?"
I would have to say, all right, there are quite a few, but I'd have to say that like what stands out to me would have to be Lara Croft. Just because, females in gaming and just something that I remember from like back in the day and that being like a staple. I'd have to say if I'm gonna go like a Mortal Kombat character. Now, of course, I love Scorpion, Sub-Zero, but I love Reptile.
Me too.
There's something about like the green. I love the green color, the character, that like green stuff. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'd have to say that that's definitely up there. Now, of course, I'm gonna go generic, with Mario because Mario's in like everything, and I love that as well. I have to say Sonic the Hedgehog because that's like another staple that stands out from my childhood, and probably I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, you wouldn't pick Link and Zelda." I'd probably have to say I was like more of like a Metroid fan, so
Okay, it's the same as
I'd have to go with my girl. So I don't know. I'd say that those are probably like my top characters.
That's awesome. Well, listen, this has been fun. We almost went 2 hours here, and all right, I gotta pull this last question for Jason Little Alien here, but then we're gonna wrap it up, guys. We have the question here: what game has provided you the best jump scares?
There's quite a few. I'd have to say like Resident Evil has gotten me over the years growing up, and probably some of the things in like Mass Effect, like the Banshees and stuff coming at you, and like the Reapers and all that. But I'd have to say that game, it's on the VR for the PlayStation 4. It was like Rush of Blood or something like that. It was the roller coaster game. And you put on the VR goggles and it's horror related. So you're going through like the roller coaster and these things just like pop out and the mannequins move and like that thing like definitely startled me, and that was one that like stands out because I remember like laughing and I was like, wow, this is quite the experience.
I don't know if I could do a jump scare game on a roller coaster. Like, it took everything in me to play Resident Evil 7 with the VR because, man, those people, like, jump out of nowhere and like they scare the bejeebas out of you. And
Mm-hmm.
on a roller coaster, and you didn't get sick?
No, it was like the game. It's like
Wow.
it brings you through, like you're moving like the roller coaster, like I guess like the movement. And VR already makes some people sick anyway.
Yeah, it makes
And
me
then
sick.
like
Certain things.
that motion of it, I don't know. It was funny. It was a good time.
Well, Brandi, I really appreciate you coming on here and having a chat with us and sharing your experience. Guys, I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so, go to youtube.com/Gamer Ahmer and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to her, check her out. And if you really enjoyed this series, this is something I'm testing the waters with Creators Corner. And maybe you're a content creator, maybe you're somebody that has an interesting story that you'd like to come on and be a guest and have me, interview you and have your community come in and check it out. Leave a comment and a way to connect with you in the comments, or email me, steve@ttbgaming.com, and I'd be happy to get you on. Listen, it's all about the community, and we want to bring people on in this fashion, this format, so you, the community, get to experience your favorite creator in a way that maybe you haven't experienced them before, and get to ask them the questions that you've always wanted to ask. So, Brandi, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Any final words for the folks out there?
I just appreciate everyone stopping by. There's been so many of my friends and stuff stopping by in the chat, so I do thank you guys for that, and thank you again for having me on here. I love, talking anything about video games and the collection and all that stuff. So I just love it. But yes, I post all over the different social medias. So, if you guys like any of this stuff or you want to see more or learn something, just stop by and follow me or subscribe, and I'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And again, guys, we'll see you next time for more Creators Corner. Have a good night, everyone.